Hello everyone. Do you like to tell scary stories as a child? Or maybe you still love it? We probably all remember how great it was. But grown-ups also need adrenaline, and many people find unusual ways to experience extreme emotions. However, we tend to seriously exaggerate the various details of our adventures when we talk about them. But today, we'll show you places that are so scary that you don't even need to exaggerate to impress your audience. These are some eerie spots, especially at night. By the way, at the end of the video, you'll find a very cool idea for a Halloween prank to scare all your neighbors. Let's get it on. Ron Kernan was born in 1944 in a house in the small Finnish municipality of Parakala, back then famous all over the world. The boy was the youngest of 4 children and was quite shy. At the age of 16, he took a job in a paper mill, but it didn't bring him any joy. He was only happy when he was at home. Away from strangers' eyes, Viejo began to work on the main project of his life, which after his death will be known as one of the most frightening places on Earth. The sculptor made monuments out of concrete, which you won't see in any museum in the world because the expressions on their faces are just too scary. The creator was remarkably productive. Over 50 years, he created about 450 sculptures, but didn't agree to exhibit them in public. Instead, he decided to place these eerie sculptures in the garden near his own house. A special feature of Viejo's work was that he used artificial teeth for the statues. For example, he placed the dentures of his dead father in the mouth of one of the sculptures. 3 years before his death, Viejo was awarded by the Finnish Ministry of Culture. Of course, he didn't come to get the award, but the ominous sculpture park created by him still stands in his former garden. Today, tens of thousands of people come there every year and like to walk among these frightening beings. Nagoro. Nagoro is a remarkable village on the smallest of Japan's 4 main islands, Shikoku. In the past, it used to be a very lively place where you could see people rushing around and cheerful kids every day. But in the early 21st century, everything changed. The rate of population increase began to fall, and young people started to move from rural areas to urban centers. By 2019, 27 people remained in the village of Nagoro. But Ayano Tsukimi, who returned here at the turn of the century to look for a sick father, couldn't stand being alone. So, for lack of a better option, she decided to make some new villagers with her own hands. It all started when Ayano made a scarecrow with some material she had lying around in order to scare away birds who pecked at the seeds that she had planted. Soon after that, Ayano's neighbor died, and she thought, why not make another doll in her honor, because Ayano wanted to be able to say hello to her in the morning. But that was not the end of it. Ayano liked her idea very much, so she made another doll, and then another one, and then another one. She created dolls that looked like former residents of the village, as well as dolls from her imagination. Ayano pays special attention to their ears. She really wants to make sure that the scarecrows can hear well. Now, Nagoro can no longer be called a ghost village, because in addition to people, there are several hundred dolls living there. On the street, in different houses, and in the local schools, you'll find them everywhere you go. So, are you already packing your bags for a visit? Suomussalmi. Drivers who are going to travel through Finland and pass by the small town of Suomussalmi should prepare for this unusual sight. Right at the entrance to the settlement, in a field on the side of the road, there is a silent army of thousands of people, and it's silent because these are straw scarecrows dressed in human clothes. This unusual work was created by a local artist who named his work of art The Silent People. He was asked many times about the hidden meaning of the Straw Army, but he never gave any explanation. One of the most popular theories says that these scarecrows represent soldiers who died there during the Winter War between Finland and the Soviet Union. Lukova. A half-ruined church surrounded by a cemetery, and there's not a soul around. This already sounds like a horror movie. But wait, let's go inside this church, which is located in the Czech village of Lukova. The floors squeak, you're feeling chilled to the bone, and it's pretty dark around. But wait, what are those shadows? They are all over the church. These white figures can be seen all around the church, but their faces are not visible from under the layers of fabric. They're sitting silently on the benches and even cover the walls of the temple, and silence reigns. Here is the story behind this place. In the late 20th century, the ceiling of this church collapsed right in the middle of a mourning ceremony. Since then, all the locals decided that the place was cursed and never came here again. The eerie ghosts were placed in the church by the artist Jakub Hadrava as part of a graduation project. According to his idea, the statues in the church were supposed to symbolize the ghosts of Sudeten Germans who lived there during World War II and came to the church every Sunday. Later, all of them were expelled from these territories, but now they are back. Well, kind of. Séné. France, Brittany. The quiet and picturesque municipality of Séné is located on the coast of the Gulf of Morbihan. This place is famous for the incredible natural landscapes of the local reserve and its ancient history. Speaking about the reserve, in 2016, tourists that come here tried to avoid night walks. Why? Well, because of these creatures who lived on the riverbanks for several months. Strange figures with long limbs were hiding in the grass and leaning over the mirror-like surface of the pond, like dementors coming out of the forest. This, of course, is the work of a modern artist. The sculpture's author is Sophie Prestigia Como, who makes her creations using mud and algae. The woman claims that her works embody the inextricable link between man and nature. Osawono. 4 years ago, a Japanese photographer was traveling through the Toyama prefecture in search of new ideas and landscapes, but he ended up finding something truly unexpected. Not far from the city of Osawono, the traveler saw a tiny village, and the locals told him about a strange abandoned place which only they knew about. Some of the residents of the settlement believed that paranormal things happen there at night. Following their instructions, the photographer ended up in an abandoned park overgrown with tall grass, and there suddenly he discovered 800 stone statues, which looked like real people, petrified by the basilisk from Harry Potter. Every statue had different clothes and special features. These weren't just several hundred identical monuments, although this would hardly have made the sight any less frightening. It turned out that the stone army had been ordered by an affluent local chairman, Mutsuo Furukawa, from a Chinese sculptor for an incredible amount of money. By the way, Furukawa's statue can also be found here. The chairman wanted to immortalize himself and all of his relatives for future generations, but funnily enough, everyone forgot about this place. However, now the park is packed with visitors, so in the end, the dream of Furukawa came true, and it only cost him about $60 million. Xochimilco. The famous canals of Xochimilco, which were built by the Aztecs in ancient times, are located in the southern part of Mexico City, the capital of Mexico. Usually, there are many tourists and a festive atmosphere here. You can hear sellers' calls and folk songs everywhere. There is only one place that all this joy never reaches. We are talking about a small island located in the middle of Xochimilco. In the last century, there was only one person living there, a hermit named Julian Santana Barrera. He told journalists and visitors that one day he heard a little girl screaming. The man realized that the child was sinking in the canal and rushed to save her. Unfortunately, when he was near the shore, he only saw a doll floating on the surface. Julian took the toy out of the lake and hanged it on a tree in memory of the dead girl. But that's where the most interesting part of the story begins. According to the rumors, he could constantly hear the screams of the little girl asking for a new doll. Julian was seriously worried and started to follow the orders of the ghost without hesitation. He would catch more dolls in the canal or ask other people to bring them to him. Soon, there were several hundred toys around the island, but the evil spirit kept asking for more. Being on the verge of despair and madness, Julian began to disfigure them. He died almost 20 years ago, and now the island is inhabited by 1,000 disfigured toys and has become very popular among curious travelers. Halloween prank. We promised to share with you an idea for a Halloween prank. It was invented by two Swedish artists who are famous all over the world for their controversial installations. They printed a huge photo of a child, treated it with water-repellent materials, and placed it in a local pond with weights attached to its back. The prank is very simple, but it's scarier than most frightening screamers. The mysterious photo is barely noticeable on the surface of the water. Eerie. So if you want to do something similar, you shouldn't do it in the city or you might get in trouble. Instead, a lake or a river in a rural area would be a great option.